but they pumped her stomach, did charcoal drip bags to try to get all of the Tylenol, and we didn't know how much she took. And that was interesting too, because when the doctor told her, she was like, "Oh, I just took, like a handful, like 15." But once the doctors ran the test, she had probably taken at least 100 pills.
Wow.
So,
How can you survive that?
Angels and demons fighting in the deep end. I turn all my weakness into something I believe in. Every scar, every doubt, that's fuel when I speak. Welcome to the battle where the broken get free. Yeah.
Lord, we give you thanks for this day. I give you thanks for Vinny and the podcast and for the listeners. We are talking about difficult things today, and we know that you walk with us through hard places. We thank you that you never leave us or forsake us. We thank you that you are our rock that carries us. Thank you for this time together and this podcast to share our story, for this opportunity, and we pray that your grace and your mercy would be with us as we do this. And please be with all of our listeners and guide them and touch their hearts and help them to know that you are a kind and loving Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you for listening to Angels and Demons podcast, a podcast devoted to the raw, the real, and the deeply human experiences that shape our mental health journeys. Our guest story today carries a kind of meaning that the world needs. There is something incredibly powerful about a mother and father's love, especially when it is tested and reshaped and depended through life's challenges. The courage it takes to walk the path that Mr. and Mrs. Chase did is nothing short of extraordinary. On Angels and Demons podcast, we believe that within every struggle, there is both a shadow and a light, and it's in the sharing of these truths that we help others feel less alone. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Your voice has the potential to reach someone who is quietly hoping to feel understood. And your experience could be the very thing that helps someone else hold on. Today, our podcast is of a horrific, life-changing event when your own child attempts suicide. Mrs. Emmie Chase, welcome to Angels and Demons podcast.
Thank you, Vanny, for having me on today.
Mrs. Emmie Chase, thank you so much for coming on. It's so good to have you on this podcast. And would you mind just giving us a little intro to how this all took place?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It, is a very difficult road to travel. And I just appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share our story and to help particularly parents know that you're not alone, that there are so many of us out there struggling with this with our children, and we need to come together and support and encourage each other. So thank you for having me on. So I'd like to start to let everyone know what Catherine was like before all of this happened. She was an extroverted, full of energy, bouncing all over the place child. She sang, she danced, she did gymnastics, she was involved in tennis. Academically, she was getting all A's and B's. She was really thriving.
Wow.
So
living life.
We were having a blast, raising our children. And then it started shifting in 6th grade when it's very normal. Children go through puberty, hormonal changes. I think we thought a lot of the behavior was normal. She started having anxiety. She was having mood swings. So we went to the pediatrician and said, okay, we've started puberty. So is this normal? Are these behaviors normal? Is there anything we should be concerned about? And she did the pediatrician checklist, and she was like, socially, she's great. Academically, she's great. Physically, she's great. Girls tend to have anxiety when they start going through puberty, so it seemed normal. And as the year progressed, different things started coming up. She started being bullied at school. So we addressed it with the teachers and the principal, saying, okay, this is going on. I want you to be aware. She, on the outside, looked totally normal. I mean, still involved in all of our activities. Everything was going great. But I think internally, she was really struggling. And I feel specifically with suicide attempts and mental health in young teens, because it is an internal struggle, they don't necessarily have the words to be able to express to their parents what is going on. And it really is a silent killer because we've got to give our kids the tools to be able to express their emotions. So she started experiencing anxiety, and the pediatrician said, okay, this isn't out of a normal range. So we were, okay, we'll just keep trying to help her move through this. One day in sixth grade, she called me from the bathroom crying. And well, let me back up for a second. Sixth grade, we also gave her cell phone. We had not given cell phones to kids before then. So
That's very interesting.
Yeah, sixth grade, she had was going through puberty. We had given her a cell phone so she could contact us after sports. And that is also when the bullying started. So those, I think, were three pivotal points. So she called me from the bathroom at school crying because she had had a full-fledged panic attack. She had never had a panic attack before. She was standing up in front of her Spanish class giving an oral report that she had prepared for and was totally fine. And then in the middle of the report, she froze, she couldn't breathe, and she just ran out of the room. And so that was our first cue because before that, she was in Lion King and she was Nala. She was on stage singing and dancing. She was in the play Peter Pan. She sang in our church choir. She was used to being in front of people and singing and dancing. She was in the Nutcracker. So when she had that experience in Spanish that made her leave the classroom and call me, we were like, okay, something's wrong. This is not our child. What is going on? So we met with the pediatrician, and at this point, the pediatrician said, I really think we need to try an anti-anxiety drug. And I did want to pause here for a second because there are a lot of different camps on whether you should medicate or whether you shouldn't medicate. And I just want your listener to be sure to know that every child is different. You have to listen to your doctor. If there are chemical imbalances, you need the medicine to make that balanced. And if medicines don't work for your child, then you don't need to use medicine for your child. Unfortunately, it's a trial and error process. You start one drug and see if it helps. It may or may not help. And same with counseling. You may need to try counseling. It may take a counselor or two until you find one that really understands and relates with you. So we started down the medication path with our pediatrician. We also started counseling for her to help her have the tools and gain skills to learn how to deal with these panic attacks and the anxiety and also the bullying. And so we started down that journey and we're on a medication, and we noticed her personality not necessarily changing, but she became flat, if that makes sense. This vibrant, full of energy child just seemed really kind of monotone. And we were like, oh, I don't know if this is a good thing.
Are you comfortable sharing what type of medication that was?
I don't know the exact name. I know it was a form of Prozac.
Okay.
I didn't bring those with me, but she was on that first. So I know that
that's an pretty common
antidepressant,
okay.
anti-anxiety. And that one did not work for her. So she started becoming angry on that medication. She started becoming extremely self-critical. Now, girls in this age are self-critical anyway. Their body's changing. They're worried about their weight. They're worried about what they look like, putting on makeup, wearing dresses or whatever. Really concerned about appearance. But she was extremely self-critical, um, and it wasn't really making sense. And she also would lash out in anger. Um, and some of that is normal. That's the hard part. Some of this is normal behavior going through puberty, trying when kids are trying to figure out who they are, what their identity is, and how to adjust to the changes that they're going through.
So you're saying essentially it's not as easy as some make it to navigate what is off normally, because
Right.
through puberty, whether you're male or female, there are definitely moments where you're just kind of all over the place, and
Exactly.
versus what is a sign that would be out of the ordinary. That's a very interesting point.
And I think that's the hardest point because as a parent, you can't differentiate between what is normal behavior and what is not during these teenage years, the 11, 12, 13 in particular, because the hormones are all over the place. The mood swings are all over the place. Their personal anger and frustration is all over the place because they're trying to figure out how to communicate what they're feeling when they don't really understand it themselves. So it is, as a parent, very difficult to see signs. But when she had that panic attack, that's when we knew. We were like, oh, this is a big sign because this is not normal. So finding that path is very challenging. So we switched her medication, and I think that one was a form of Lexapro, her second medication. I wish I had the names in front of me, and she did not do well on that one either. She started having suicidal thoughts. She started self harm. And as a parent, it is devastating because you are watching this slow motion train crash that you can't do anything about. You can't stop it. You can't derail it. You have no idea. We're trying everything we can with our doctors, counselors, but it seems like nothing's helping.
That's a tough place to be.
It's a very hard place to be. And for us, God was our foundation, and He walked with us through every moment of everything that happened. And so for us, having that foundation on Him made all the difference. It really made it survivable. So we're walking down this path, and this analogy I have, it's like you see a thunderstorm in the distance, and you're like, oh, thunderstorms are coming. We should get off the beach. We don't want to get caught by lightning or, be on the beach exposed in the rain. So we pack up our beach stuff and head to the car. And then you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a tornado. So that's how it is with children with mental health issues. One, trying to determine what is normal behavior and what is not. And two, seeing the storm and not knowing how bad it is or how bad it's going to get until the tornado's right on top of you. So in September of her 7th grade year, even though we had been on top of her, watching her in counseling with the doctors, she decided to take a full bottle of Tylenol. And for no reason. We will talk about this later in the podcast, but that impulsivity of this age group, they don't realize the ramifications of what they're actually doing. So they are very impulsive. But yet again, that's normal behavior for teenage development. You think, oh, I'm going to live forever. Nothing can hurt me. I mean, the stuff I did in high school, I really did not think it would hurt me. And I was like, ooh, looking back now, oh, that was really dangerous. I shouldn't have done that. And that's how it is. They have this instant knee-jerk impulsive reaction to things. So we don't know really what set her off. She seemed fine. And then she took this bottle of Tylenol and
I'm so sorry to cut you off. I'm a little thrown off here. So you mentioned that you're in a tornado.
Yes.
And that she's on Prozac, different medications.
Yes.
and there's the bowling. And
Yes.
so why would this be like a surprise? I mean, like I'm confused because it sounds when
Right.
you said everything is normal, it doesn't sound leading up to that everything's normal.
Right. So normal in the sense of the impulsivity of teenage puberty. That's what's normal. But it was a
Okay.
shock to us because we did not know the severity of her internal struggle.
I see.
Thank you for helping me clarify that.
No, I was just trying to understand. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, interrupt me as many times as you want because I want to be very clear and I want people to understand teenage behavior is crazy, and a lot of it is normal. But when you're going down a mental health path, you have to look for those red flags that are not normal, like the bullying, like self-harm, like highly self-critical, anger outbursts, and even on medication and with pediatricians, we were still not thinking that she would actually do this because we were getting her help. We thought we were giving her tools that she needed to work through this. So when she actually did attempt, that's why it was a surprise.
I see.
Because we were doing everything right, we thought.
Seeing the doctors, following their instructions, doing the counseling,
teaching her tools. We thought we were doing everything that we knew of, not knowing she wasn't getting any better. So she took the bottle of Tylenol and posted it on social media. We had already gone to bed. My husband had let our dog out, walked around, made sure the doors were locked. We were in the bedroom. So we had no idea. We'd already said goodnight to her. She posted something on social media, and this is a really important point for children. If you see something, say something. She had a friend reach out to her who saw this social media clip that she did. I'm not sure which platform. And he reached out to her and he said, "Are you okay? You don't look okay." And she confided in him and told him what she had done. And he said, "You need to go tell your parents now." And she listened, thankfully, and came back and told us. And then panic sticks in and we just start panicking and taking her to the emergency room. And we went.
This is after she consumed the Tylenol?
This is after she consumed the Tylenol.
Wow.
We immediately went. We took her to.
So she was coherent during that time?
She was coherent, yes.
Okay.
She took the Tylenol, posted this social media. This friend reached out and was like, "You go tell your parents right now." And she did.
Wow. So she actually stated what she did. Like,
Right.
I took Tylenol and I am attempting to take my life.
Yes.
What do you feel when I hear that? I feel like the child is screaming out like something to be heard in some way. What do you feel like? What was she through that social media? Is there anything that shows what she was trying in her mind to be heard?
On her social media, she didn't post anything but her laying on the floor crying.
Oh my God.
There were no words, no expression, nothing. It was just her laying on the floor crying. And this guy saw that and he, I think the Lord was like, "Ooh, you need to call her." And he reached out. I don't know how many of her other friends saw that, and didn't reach out. So he convinced her to come tell us. So she was totally coherent. And at that point, there again, it's like she didn't even realize the consequences of her action. She had become so kind of monotone from these drugs that there were not a lot of
almost
fear
like
responses.
A zombie, just flat,
like a zombie,
just,
exactly.
Just no facial expressions. Just she's there, but it's like nobody's inside. The lights are on, they say, but nobody's home.
Exactly. And even when she told us, she wasn't crying, she wasn't fearful. It's just to me so hard to see a vibrant, exuberant person really just kind of become like a zombie. And that's what happened. And So we took her to the emergency room, and they, I don't know how much detail you want, but they pumped her stomach, did charcoal drip bags to try to get all of the Tylenol, and we didn't know how much she took. And that was interesting too, because when the doctor told her, she was like, "Oh, I just took, like a handful, like 15." But once the doctors ran the test, she had probably taken at least 100 pills.
Wow.
So,
How can you survive that?
right,
100 Tylenol pills?
exactly. So once they pumped her stomach and started the charcoal bags to detox her, and she was stabilized, then we went via ambulance from the emergency room to Baptist Hospital downtown. So then they admitted her on the suicide floor. We were there for 5 days working on getting all of this out of her system. And there was no guarantee if her liver would be damaged, if her kidney would be damaged. We didn't know the internal damage of what the Tylenol would do. We just had to wait and see. So after a week in the hospital suicide floor, and Baptist was amazing. They have a nurse that's assigned to each person who stays with you 24 hours a day. So there's someone in that room all the time. And, this story could be told through a whole other lens of how God provides. Our nurse did not work on that floor. Our nurse worked in a totally different area, but
God always works like
he
that.
does. I mean, it's a miracle. And her name was Lucy, because they were shorthanded for whatever reason. They called her in that morning and said, "We need you
To be for your daughter.
to be here for our daughter." And Lucy was amazing because, when you have that kindred spirit, you're immediately joined and you immediately know. So she walked in the room and I just kind of chuckled. I was like, "Here's our angel." And we immediately started praying over Catherine and started, just continually praying and thanking God that she was alive, because you're thankful for every moment. Every minute that they are breathing is an opportunity for healing.
That's a good point.
And every hour, like once we get out of the hospital, every hour, I'm like, okay, she's alive. Every hour. And every hour and every day that you're away from the event allows the body to heal, allows the mind to heal, and allows the soul to heal. So Lucy was there, and she told me in her car that she was like, "Okay, Lord, I don't know what I'm going in for today. I don't even know where they're putting me because this makes no sense. I've never worked on this floor before. I don't understand." And then she got there and we just kind of chuckled. We were like, "Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together and for providing." So Catherine was in the suicide watch floor of Baptist Hospital for 5 days. At that point, she became medically stable, didn't need charcoal bags anymore, and they felt like everything was functioning the way it could. So,
What is that experience like? Is the child limited from movement? Are they chained to the bed so they can't hurt themselves? Is there any extreme measures in which they handle them differently?
for her, they did not. She was not a thrasher. She was not violent in that regard, because I think of the medications that we had her on, she was more like a zombie. So she was not having violent behavior. So they did not strap her. It was just like a hospital room with a bed. They had a little couch where I slept and a chair where the nurse sat. They're not allowed to be by themselves ever. If they have to go to the bathroom, somebody has to go with them. So we did not have the experience of her having to be tied down.
What a blessing. I've heard in the past people that physically harm themselves.
Right.
The bed situation is a traumatic event just in itself, seeing your child like that.
And I'm thankful we didn't. But I think also that was the medication she was on, that it took her too far the other way. She was more
Calm.
and non-responsive. So after that first week, they were transferring her to the inpatient health therapy floor of Baptist Hospital, which I didn't even know they had. And when we were on the suicide floor, it really broke my heart because when we were first admitted, they said, "Oh, we do have this other floor that she could go to, but we're full. There's no room for her." And it is a floor specifically for children 11 to 18 to get inpatient therapy.
You mean that was full?
It was full.
Wow.
It was full.
That's very interesting that there's that much need in that department. Just the podcast being on mental health. That's incredible. Just the need in that department. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No. And
so it was full.
It was full. And so I texted everybody, "Oh gosh, the therapy floor where she needs to go, inpatient, is full. There are no beds available for her. We don't know what to do." I mean, the next facility, I know there are a number of them, but they were all full. So they were all full. So the closest one, I think, was like 2 hours away. And that's what's heartbreaking to me. I have a little side note, a friend going through this now, and the closest inpatient was 2 hours away for her daughter as well this year, 2 months ago. So the need is overwhelming. Great. So I asked everyone, please just pray. We've just got to get a bed. Please pray that somebody is well enough to be sent home so we can move from this floor to that floor. And by the time, 5 days later, that she was medically cleared, there was space for her. So we were so thankful. They moved her to the inpatient mental health therapy floor and met with wonderful counselors and people who were going to be walking with her. But as a parent, that is one of the hardest parts, because when we admitted her there, we were not allowed to see her anymore.
Wow.
So
that's probably very difficult for you.
You're handing your child off to strangers.
How did that make you feel?
Awful. The fear and the anxiety and tears. And I had to do my own self-care and say, okay, we're just going to breathe. We're going to pray. We're going to go outside and walk.
What is the reasoning for that? Did you ever get that?
They were very clear. The reason they want to do this is because it is kind of like a high concentration of therapy. They are doing it all day long. They have individual counseling, individual therapy. They have behavioral therapy. They have group therapy. They have homework and exercises that they have to do, writing down and learning how they express their emotion. How do I express it positively? Am I expressing it negatively? So when they are at this facility, it is amazing, but they really are hardcore trying to help these kids get the tools.
Just makes me very suspicious. Like, I mean, you're the parents.
Right.
And you are not allowed to be around your child.
Right.
It just, something doesn't make sense to me there.
It's hard.
And like, I can see why you would ask. Like, I mean, because what are you going to say or influence my daughter in that you don't want me present for after such a dramatic situation? Like, don't you feel like I should be there every step of the way of this journey?
Exactly.
Wow, that's a lot to process.
But it's actually the opposite. They want to have the kids by themselves in case the parents are part of the problem, in case the child needs to be able to express to somebody else something else that's going on. We don't know what family systems are like. We don't know. I mean, we feel like we have a very loving family, but that's not true for everybody. So some kids who are trying to commit suicide, it might be because of a family problem, whether it's abuse or, rape or whatever, verbal abuse. So they really want the child to be independent of everything and everyone so that the counselors can dive in and get to the root of the problem.
Thank you for explaining that. I mean, I think that really helps clarify that. And that's an exceptional explanation.
Well, They told it to me. So, because I was like, what do you mean I can't see my child? One thing they do allow, though, which she did do most days, if there is time, she was allowed to call us and tell us she was doing okay. But there were days where she couldn't call us. So I think in that, when she was there a week, she was able to call us 3 times. But once you admit her into that facility, they give the parents a packet too with work for us to do. So while she was there, we were at home having to clean the house. So we had to go through and get every knife, every pair of scissors, every toenail clippers, every razor, every fingernail file, anything that had a sharp edge, we had to find and lock up. And
my mind is just thinking right now how challenging that would be.
right.
Because I mean, it's like endless. Your mind probably just went on this rabbit trail
Yes.
of thinking of everything.
What could and medication, like what possibly could she use for self-harm? Anything could be used for self-harm. So you really have to, just breathe and they give you a list, which is very helpful to things to look out for. And for me, it kind of reminded me, on a positive note, when you first have a child and you're going through and you're like, okay, I've got to put covers on all the plugs so they don't electrocute themselves in the outlets. If it doesn't fit through a toilet paper tube, they can choke on it. So, you have to make sure there's not stuff for them to choke on. So as parents, really, that's our job, to keep our kids safe from the get-go. And we do the best we can. My mother-in-law told me the most amazing phrase when I had my son. He's the firstborn. She said, the sooner you can give him up to God for his survival, the better off you will be.
Mm.
And she told me that when he was born, because I was a new mother, panicking on his breathing, wondering if he was going to sleep, make it through the night, because you just don't know when you have this person dependent on you. And that became so true through this, because as a parent, you will go crazy with your own anxiety, your own PTSD, your own fears, if you let it control you.
That's a very good point. So how did you, when you were doing the cleanup process, how did that go?
We just kept at it. You do it one time around and we're like, okay, then you see something else. We changed a doorknob to a closet. It was a small linen closet. So back there we put, we don't have guns, but I would recommend for parents, any guns, any alcohol, any medication, all medications, any sharp thing, we just started putting in that closet. And I cook all the time. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go to my bedroom, unlock the door to get a knife to come cut the vegetables. So not to make light of it, but really,
no, I was just thinking of that too.
It's like, wow, okay, but that's fine, because you will do whatever you need to do for your child. But you don't think about those things. But Baptist was really helpful on giving us a list of what to look for. They were wonderful giving us packets. And so then we moved to bringing her home. So she was released, able to come home. So then we started working tools.
What is the time frame of that? From the time she was admitted for those initial days, the time that you could not be with her, to the time she came home? What was that time period frame like?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. A tough 2 weeks. And
probably felt like 2 years.
It did. It really did. One thing that was really important as well, during that week that she was admitted, my husband and I would walk in the evenings before we went to bed and just talk, just around the neighborhood. We would talk and we would cry. It would be, dark at night, and just to help us process. And I think for us, that was a really healthy addition through this, because we could breathe, because we were outside. We were walking, getting physical exercise. And like Dr. Trey Wilson, who you know so well, there's something about being in nature that restores your soul. So being outside really helped us process and keep our connection strong as we were helping each other, grieve everything that we had just experienced. So I would really recommend, and as we go through, we will talk about recommendations for parents. So she came home, and then we went back to the counselors, to the pediatrician. We actually switched counselors at that point. And for us, we decided we were taking her off medication. We just we felt it was exacerbating the problem. We also found out a lot of these drugs have black box labels that say they should not be used for children under 18 because it does cause suicidal thoughts. So we are not.
You're speaking against Big Pharma right now.
Right, I know.
This is a dangerous topic. Like I've experienced this before with a previous guest. I mean, I understand exactly what you're talking about.
But there is a need for these medications because people are chemically imbalanced and they need medication. I mean, period.
But not everybody.
But not everybody. So that's the important point. For our child, these medications were making her worse instead of better. But you have to try. You have to try them because you don't know how your child, they could excel being on one of these medications, and it will help them be able to function for the rest of their lives. But for our child, it was making things worse. And that's why it's important to really be open to pay attention to what is affecting your child and how it is affecting your child.
That's a very good point.
And so for us, my husband had done a lot of research and found a number of medical journals over in Europe and UK about the herbal supplement of St. John's wort to help relieve anxiety. So we started her on that. And it did not seem to have the side effects that the medications did. It did seem to help calm her and help her anxieties. So we did that. That was the next step. And we continued her counseling. Then COVID hit, which was actually an amazing blessing for our family. And to switch a little bit here, the isolation of COVID helped our family heal because we were all four together. We couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't see their friends. They weren't doing their activities. So we had the time as a family to process through what happened and to really help her, practice these tools of becoming healthy. So it was a good part of our story, even though so many,
this is when she's at home. This is the process afterwards that she's going through.
Right. And online schooling, because so much of the bullying and problems that she was having at school, which we think contributed, there was none of that because the school was online. So for us, that really helped and helped her heal and gain the tools that she needed. So that is the general story.
What did you find was most helpful? I have a couple questions going through my head. One is,
that's a general.
Well, what is the first response that you had when you found out your daughter took 100 Tylenol to take her life? What was your first emotion inside? Was it anger? And can you describe that feeling?
It was deep sadness.
Deep sadness.
Not anger. Because she was suffering. And internally, she was suffering.
Did she ever share what she was suffering from, what she felt she was missing? No. She
didn't.
So do you think maybe there was a chemical imbalance then?
I do. I think something was off. It just happens the medicines that we were using were not helping. But I also think the hormonal imbalance,
that doesn't help either.
Doesn't help either. And she kind of, not that she was on the extreme, but she would have migraines. I have hormonal migraines. She started getting hormonal migraines. So okay, it's happening in the brain. And the brain is a muscle, just like anything else. You tear your ACL, you go to a doctor and get it fixed, and you go take the medicine they tell you, and you go to physical therapy. Our brain is no different. Our brain needs that care and attention, vitamins, minerals, medication, exercise through
That
reading.
balance.
That balance. You've got to find that balance. And, so for me, I was deeply saddened because my heart just broke for her.
Were you ever like, why would you do this? Why would you take 100 Tylenol when you have two parents that love and care for you? Like, why did you do this?
I did not.
You're a very loving parent.
Well, and
I would have been like, why did you?
Well, let me tell you why too. Because I know you have my bio, and I went to seminary. One of the things that I focused on in seminary was grief.
Mm.
And grief is not just death. Grief is the loss of a dream, the loss of a job, the loss of your hope. And for me, and I can't speak for her, I feel like she had lost hope in life.
At such a young age.
At such a young age, they are bombarded with so much information via the news, via social media. Movies are more violent. They are exposed to so much more at such a young age that I think she was like, why would I want to live with all this crap going on?
They try to set a standard, I feel like the world does. And it's, if you don't maintain this image, then, if you're not blonde hair, perfectly thin, perfectly this way, and you don't match these boxes, then you are not what we need in the world. And so they start to believe that. And mentally, they find, like you said, little purpose for wanting to live. That is so incredible that you, as a spiritual counselor, have that ability to connect with the grief and understand that. I mean, because that's a huge part. I've noticed that just in our society with having many nieces and nephews, that everyone's looking up to someone.
Right.
Who are your role models? And if they're not the right ones, you can very easily go into a path that leads to destruction.
Absolutely. And there's actually, I can't think of the name of it right now, but a friend of mine shared, I think it's a new Netflix documentary that talks a lot about influencers and the very destructive path that they can lead people down. But that brings me to this, idea. For me, being a Christian, I really rely on God. But regardless of what you believe, I think we can say that there is good and evil in the world.
Angels and demons.
I love that title for this podcast because growing up and with my children, I told them, you have an angel on one shoulder and a demon on the other.
That's very interesting.
Which one are you going to choose to listen to?
It's very interesting. You're on this podcast and you're telling your kids at a young age there are angels and there are demons.
Yes.
And it's so true. It's almost like that little cartoon where they're on either side of your and you have a choice every day of what you're gonna do.
And that was pivotal for her recovery. So I would say, you remember, an angel on one shoulder, a demon on the other. But you have the power and the control to choose which one you want to listen to. And if you find in your mental state that you are replaying a tape recorder of negative thought patterns, negative comments, criticisms, perfectionism, you can stop that. And you can say, no, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm going to choose to play something positive in my mind. And I would I would say, okay, let's talk. Let's be grateful right now. What are we grateful for? I can breathe. Do I have any control over my breath? No. My heart's beating. Do I have any control over my heart beating? No, but they are working. We can be thankful. I can see. I can hear. We can go outside and enjoy nature. Think on the positive things.
That's so important. I feel like once one negative thought or aspiration comes out of the mouth, a second one very easily follows. And then it's like a third and a fourth and a fifth. And
Right.
to have one, if you feel like you have more than two negative things come out of your mouth, you have to, I feel like, counter it with a third positive. Do you agree?
100%. And I don't know who they is, but they even say, it takes 10 positive affirmations to overcome the one negative.
That's interesting. I
So,
believe that.
so you have to, like, you have to have your child. And she would roll her eyes at me. Oh, Mom, why do you make me do this every day? But it's not a habit. It's not a pattern if you're allowing all of this negativity to run free in your brain. And so you have to,
You won't even be able to laugh.
right.
You won't be able to smile
Won't be
because
able to
you're
smile.
just like that demonic depression
Oppression.
comes
Yes.
over you and just takes over where you don't have the ability to even think clearly.
Absolutely. And that's when you're in trouble. That's when you're in trouble. When your thought process is 90% negative, because it's hard to get out of that pattern and that hole that you've dug. And for her, one thing which was pivotal in more recent recovery, the past couple years. So it's been 6 years, and there was ups and downs, progress, and times where we were waiting for the other shoe to fall off. Oh gosh, here we go again. Are we gonna have another episode? So it's not a clear line. There are highs and there are lows on the journey of healing, and it takes a long time. So I don't want parents to get discouraged or frustrated or lose hope that it's taking a while. It takes our mind and our bodies and our souls a long time to heal. But the point is not to give up, to find your hope, to find your encouragement. For Catherine, she read the book by C.S. Lewis, Screw Tape Letters.
I've read that book.
C.S.
It's
Lewis
very
can
interesting.
be a bit heady, but that was like, that
Excellent points.
woke her up and said, oh my gosh, Mom, it is an angel and a demon. And I do have to fight that demon. I do have to find ways of being positive and continuing to stay positive, even when I don't feel like it.
That's really cool that she recognized that, because I think that is an important part of recovery, is recognizing that she has choices of what she's going to feed each day.
Yes.
And the thing that she's going to feed each day is going to dictate where her mindset's going to be. And what should listeners do if they're concerned, or parents do if they're concerned that going through this experience, what do you find that parents can do if they are concerned or are experiencing red flags? Like you said, there was the normal, growing up and maturing part to things, but there was other parts that were different. What if there was something that would draw them closer to that understanding? What advice would you give?
I would definitely stay with your pediatrician. We need to use our resources. Definitely counseling for both child and parent. Every other, alcohol and drug addicts have Alcoholics Anonymous. We have to be in community to support and encourage and help each other. That there are so many of us out there who have this story, and so many of us that understand what parents are going through.
Like you said, the beds were full.
Right, the beds were full. So find your community, find your support. If you just have one person that you can talk to, make sure that one person knows what you're going through. The kids need people to talk to, whether it's coaches or teachers or counselors. You've got to build your community of support. We were not created to be isolated. We were created to live life together. And there are so many resources, which we will list on your website. A lot of churches have support groups. There are in Jacksonville, we have a lot of support groups.
Can you list some of those? As a
Yes.
spiritual counselor, take it away.
Well, I at Christ Episcopal Church, we have something that is called the Center for Spirituality. And there we have spiritual directors. We are not counselors, but we are
spiritual directors.
We are people who have a lot of knowledge to be able to walk with you through whatever it is you're going through, whether it's a death, a grief.
Do you learn that, or do you have to have a degree in it?
We have to have a degree, yes.
So your degree is, you have
a master's in theology.
Oh, wow.
With a concentration in spiritual direction and grief counseling. So I did.
This is your profession.
This is my profession. So I did a semester of hospice care to understand grief. I did a semester of grief counseling, and then I had 2 years of spiritual direction where we take psychology classes like family dynamics, setting healthy boundaries. So being a spiritual director, we do not have a psychology degree. We are not clinical, and we are not counselors, but we have had experience and classes on how to walk with people with their counselors. So we are all confidential, and we are there to help and support in whatever that looks like.
Where is that located in Jacksonville?
Christ Episcopal Church, in the Center for Spirituality. We have that. But
that's in the beaches, Ponte Vedra.
Yes, Ponte Vedra Beach.
Okay.
And we have also a number of wonderful churches here. Currently, Beaches Church down in Jacks Beach, Pastor Jerry is doing a sermon series on mental health.
That's awesome.
I think it's a 5 or 6 part series, and he's taken one Sunday for anxiety, one Sunday for depression. He's trying to help build this support community where people can go to get help and resources. And so on their website, they have a lot of counselors that have been vetted. They have different resources for people if they need them. Locally, we have Florida Suicide Prevention. So if you are in immediate need, like your child just took a bottle of Tylenol and you don't know what to do, you can call the number 988. It is similar to 911 is emergency. 988 is an emergency alert that lets the EMTs know that it is suicide.
So listeners, now is, if you haven't tuned in, now is the time to turn the volume up on your headphones while you're running, walking, or going from work. 988
is the number you dial for a suicide emergency. And that's the Florida Suicide Prevention. So that will work wherever you are.
That is very important, because if you walk into a room and your child has taken 100 Tylenol, you are going to appreciate knowing that number.
988.
Yes. I mean, that I feel like should almost be like something you memorize, because you never know. You weren't expecting to walk into that room that day like that, were you?
No, absolutely
not. And
not.
it just happened. And the parents that live in this world, that could happen to them. And what's most interesting is that hospital was full. The rooms were full. So this isn't something that just is lightly happening, and we're just kind of like, oh, we got a little thing here, we have a little thing there. This is a problem.
Epidemic.
It's an epidemic, and to me, what is so aggravating to me about it is nobody will give any attention to it. Mm-hmm. Mental health is the taboo topic, and to me, that's what's leading to this. Is because we just gave an example of what it means to be cool. Mm-hmm. Blonde hair for a girl, and skinny, and this and everything looking like an LA woman, Mm-hmm. So they don't meet that criteria. Well, guess what? This is where you are. And for a boy, if you can't be the best at sports, you can't make it to the NFL or do a grand slam in the major leagues, you're not good enough. Mm-hmm. And the beds are full. There is a major battle being fought. And I feel like in one way, the enemy is winning. Because if those beds are full, the angels are at work.
Absolutely. 100%. And I do want to tell you, my daughter, if you see a picture of her, she is tall, blonde, thin. She can sing. She can dance. She's smart, had everything going for her. And she did this. So it doesn't matter.
So don't let that fool you.
It doesn't matter. Don't let that fool you.
Because how does a baby, sometimes they say get cancer.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just there are some things we don't understand, and God has it set up to where we lean on him because there are many examples of why we need him because we do not understand.
We don't understand. But he does. He is the creator of every single person on this planet. And his desire is for everyone to know and be loved and to be cared for and supported.
Do you feel abandoned by God in this in any way? Do you have any anger towards God? Like you feel abandoned, like why I got my master's in spiritual theology. I have given my life to you. Why are you striking me down? Like in a way, like I feel like, yes, like Job. Like I feel like a very specific example of why are you going after your children are the people. This is the love of your life, right? You as a mother gave everything.
Right.
And as she's growing up and you're like, why are you attacking my daughter? Like King David, when he lost his son, I mean, like, it's not like something major, like you're saying happened where it's like, he put his front men in the battle to be killed so that he could be with Bathsheba. It's like, why did you experience that type of anger?
I did not. And here's why. Because they are God's. They are not mine. I am merely a steward of what he blesses me with. So I am in charge of the care for them, but they are his. And we are promised to have struggle. We are promised to have hardship. We are promised to have the dark night of the soul where we don't understand what in the world is going on and how we got here.
Why is it?
The world is a dark place because there is evil. There will be perfection in heaven.
Because Satan was God's closest angel, and then he fell.
Right.
And so I think you're really on to something here, and it's really a breakthrough concept because with Satan being God's closest person, he was cast down. That is the devil now.
Right.
And so there's a disguise. Like you said, your daughter was all these things, but it still happened.
Right.
And that's how the devil moves in a very, very invincible way, almost where you don't even see it coming. Mm-hmm. And whether it's grief from, like you said, losing a job, having something traumatic to your child happen, there's some way to deal with grief. And it sounds like you're really mature. Like you knew how to, to deal with something so heavy like that, you dealt very maturely with what was brought to you.
Well, I think it's part of the journey. Like the more we know who God is, the more we understand. The world is a hard place with a lot of evil. Satan came to kill and destroy.
Steal, kill, and destroy.
And that is his purpose. And he is going to try to get away with it any way he can. However, God has already conquered him.
Just think about that. The enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy.
Yes.
If you slow it down enough to where the enemy came to kill, steal, and destroy, that's quite a mission. Like if someone came in front of you and said, Miss Emmie, in your spiritual counseling, my mission in life is to kill, steal, and destroy. Would that catch you off guard?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You might think, oh my gosh, like is Atlantic Police Department or who is around me? Like
wear the handcuffs.
Let's
haul you off.
Yeah, that is quite a mission. And it's a dark one. And you emphasize that this is a dark world.
This is a dark world. But every step along the way, God is with us. He is the light in the darkness. He is the hope for the hopeless. He came to heal and restore. We will not be perfected until we get to heaven. But while we're here on this journey, our purpose is to love the Lord our God with all of our hearts, all of our soul, and love our neighbor. And our neighbor is every single person on the planet, whether they believe in God or not. We are called to love and walk with people who are struggling. We are called to be in community to help each other in this dark world because we are the light of hope to help everybody walk horrible, terrible paths that we would rather not walk.
That's so true. That's so true, though. But what sometimes people are like, pray about it. And you're praying about it and it's not getting better. And you're praying about it and it's not improving. What do you do in that situation? Like, I mean, that's a good analogy, Job. I like that. But
Yes.
when you're praying and it's not working and you want to give up, what do you, from a spiritual director, how do you implement hope when there seems to be no hope?
We start simply. We open our eyes and we say, where can I see God? Where? Is it in the sunshine? Is it in the birds? Is it in the nature? And with prayer, I compare that to back in the day when we had handmade quilts, patch quilts. You work on a square at a time.
My mom used to do that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Patch quilts. You work on one piece at a time. You can't see the end picture because you work on a square. You put that square down. You move to the next square. You work on that square. Then you have a collection of squares. And then it's not to the very end that you put them all together. And then you can see the masterpiece. And prayer is that way because we don't know what God's doing. God is always working. And we can't see it. But He is because He loves His creation. And He will never give up on His creation. There's nothing you and I can do, or anyone that attempts suicide, or anyone that succeeds at suicide. There's nothing we can do that will separate us
like the
from
man
His
that
love.
jumped from the Dames Point Bridge just
Right.
I think 2 weeks ago, and traffic was backed up for a while. I grew up in a Christian cult, and through that cult experience, there was nobody to talk to because everyone was indoctrinated, right? And there was nobody to talk to because they were all brainwashed. You could not leave, you couldn't speak to your parents, and you couldn't do this and couldn't do that. So I really appreciate you mentioning that because that is how you cope. Well, it was a traumatic experience, and to the point of if you talk about it in any way, in any concern that you have, you are the problem. And to me, it's the complete opposite approach from a professional like you is we want you to be able to talk about it.
Absolutely.
We want you to be able to open up. And I think with this podcast, the whole purpose of it is through this traumatic suicide attempt with your daughter, Catherine, you as a family and her are able to see a bigger purpose that God has in store than what we can see right up to the palm of our hand.
Absolutely.
And so I really, really appreciate you being so vulnerable and open and honest and just being able to let other people know that they are not alone. I think so many times we feel alone.
Absolutely.
And that's when I don't know. And tell me, because you're the professional and I act as I'm the student. Our podcast is Angels and Demons Podcast. You are not alone. And we're hoping through the voices of other people like you shared, it can help impact other people. Is there any direction in this show that you would twist or navigate in a more effective way to where we can reach people better?
I think you're doing an amazing job. And I hope that my hope for you and for this podcast is that it will explode that God will bring people here to listen, to, you know, get out on social media and promote you. And because we are not alone, but our culture really
Isolation.
isolation.
That's what you were just saying.
Yes,
Isolation.
our culture promotes isolation. I mean, that's what phones do.
Get on the phone and sit in your corner and do this. And then you go into a restaurant and you see a family of 5 and they're all in their corner on their phones after they've been away from each other all day long. They're sitting in silence, not even communicating with one another. That's a major disconnect.
A major problem.
And you are right. It's a form of isolating so that the enemy has a way to get to you exactly what he wants you to, whether it's the dopamine from the treasure chest opening where the 30 tokens come up and you get your pirate's chest or whatever it might be. And you see these things, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, that is a cautionary tale. You know, hindsight's 2020. We wish we had not given our daughter a phone in 6th grade. We wish that we had not allowed them to have social media access because it is, and have studies been shown that it rewires your brain in a not positive way. So for parents, you know, I would encourage, you know, limit that as much as possible. Try to get your kids in some type of sport or activity or music or, you know, to help them engage their body and their brain. And I really hope that people will seek out support and communities, whether it's through some we've listed, whether it's through a church or whether it's through a mental health support group, to help them know that they are not alone, because we are here to walk with you through this. And I know most churches, not just the ones we've mentioned, do have people who are shepherds to walk along beside you. They're not necessarily counselors, but they're here to talk to you and to listen and say, you know, I'm here. Like my person would send me during this time funny memes just because she knew this was such a heavy journey.
Yes.
She's like, okay, I'm going to send you a little sunshine today. And she'd send me the stupidest things, you know, the dogs doing,
that's great.
But we need that.
Yes.
We need that stress release of joy and laughter. We would watch comedians. We would watch funny shows just to try to help us get out of the weight of what we were under. But we as a community here in Jacksonville, you know, we have support. We want people to know that there are people here who will help you walk this path.
And just so you know, Mrs. Emmie Chase is going to list a list of resources that are available. She is a spiritual director at the Episcopal Church in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. She's going to help you direct if there's anyone that needs any help or assistance. We'll provide her email address, her phone number, her contact, the church's information. If it's a community group you need to get a part of, if it's a activity event, whatever it is, she's going to be a lead resource that we're going to be referring out to so she can help you through your journey in mental health. There was so much pain and learning and grief that came from it, but you are open and honest to share something so personal in your life from your family for the sake to help others so that they are not in isolation. They're in a community environment and they are provided the resources so that this doesn't happen to their family if there's red flags that they might need.
I would like to thank you for who you are and
thank you.
Having me on the podcast and for this podcast. And one last resource I wanted to share with the parents. This book here is called Sacred Self-Care by Dr. Shaniqua Walker Barnes. These books, when parents are going through this, they don't have time to read. But this book, you can flip through it. It has a checklist on how a parent can make sure that they have balance as they are walking through difficult situations. So it has emotional care, physical care, spiritual care. It's just a checklist and say, okay, I need to drink more water. This is a great resource.
We'll list that book at the end of the podcast. We'll have that book listed.
And then these two books, The Power of a Praying Parent by Stormy O. Martian and Praying the Scriptures for Your Teens. These two books are really good because, you don't have time to think. So you flip to the page and say, oh gosh, my child just committed suicide. There's a chapter on it. And you say, okay, here's some scripture verses to help you. And here's some prayers that you can pray. So these are a couple resources for parents. And we will have these listed. And I'm just so thankful for you and thank you for your time. And so grateful for your podcast.
Right back at you. Thank you so much for bringing your resources to help other parents going through this and children. And you are a wonderful inspiration in our community. Thank you so much, Miss Emmie Chase.
Thank you so much, Vinny.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, thank you.
Angels and demons fighting in the deep end. I turn all my weakness into something I believe in. Every scar, every doubt, that's fuel when I speak. Welcome to the battle where the broken get free. Yeah.